Hey Bill, welcome to BMXUltra.com. Happy 30th
Shane,
anniversary.
thank you. Welcome. Welcome to Supercross. Thanks for having me. Or actually, or which side are we on? Are you down there? Am I up here? Where are we?
Oh, we
Am
can
I
go
over
for that.
here?
Yeah, they
Where?
don't call us down over, so we'll call it. We're down, you're up.
You're down, I'm up?
Yeah.
Or are we round? I don't know. I'm probably going to get us in trouble for these hand gestures right now. They're going to ban us for whatever.
I do
I
have a
don't know.
couple of deaf friends. I'm sure I'll hear from them soon.
How are you doing, my friend?
I'm great. Yeah,
Welcome back to BMX Ultra, the best BMX source on the internet.
I've been a little quiet as far as being a BMX source lately. Work's been busy and just been crazy busy. So I'm hoping to step that up again. And one thing I had bookmarked from months ago was a 5-year catch up with you. We've done it every year. It must be since the 15th year of Supercross.
I think we have, and I don't take that lightly either. And I have to say, I truly appreciate that, Shane. You have definitely recognized what we've been trying to do over the last 35 years of Supercross. And you have always made sure that every 5 years you check in to where you're like, hey, it's been 15 years of Supercross. It's been 20 years of Supercross. It's been 25 years. It's been 30 years. It's been 35 years. I have a feeling at some point we're going to be like, all right, it's been 100 years of Supercross. What are we going to be doing now? I'm hoping that we can get that far. I mean,
fingers crossed. This is the first time we've done this interview as a video. So what I might do is just get you to tell a little bit of history to the people that have joined us in the last 5 years, so they know the origins of Supercross.
Awesome. So Supercross, obviously, founded in 1989, and we actually evolved from another company that we had that was Tech BMX Products. So to give the people a little bit more history, I started in the BMX industry working at SE Racing, and I worked there until SE Racing closed the doors on the Paramount building. And then I started working over at GT Bicycles when they were over on Container Lane. And it was a small group of 8 to 10 people, and they ended up branching out. And while I was at SE, I had actually started a small company called Tech. And Tech actually was born out of what I had done prior to that as a company called High Tech, making frames. So seems like I've always had this little weird thing of trying to do something in the BMX business because I was a little hungry and needed to eat. And Taco Bell bean and cheese burritos, even though they were only 39 cents back then, I needed to get one or two here or there. So we had Tech. I was working at GT. I left GT Bicycles when Tommy Brackens got fired, Kevin Hull got fired. I started working for Turnell Henry over at La Palma Cycle Center. I was helping Tommy Brackens get Brackens Racing going. And after a little while of that, we were just doing the Tech Racing team out of Power Plus Cycles. And we couldn't get a bike sponsor for our race team, which at the time was Billy Harrison, Glenn Pavlovsky, Brian Lopes, Bogey Givens, pretty heavy hitters for back in the day. And no one would give us any bikes. We couldn't get a bike sponsor. The industry was in a very deep lull, similar to what it is now, similar to what we've seen it be 10 years ago, 15 years ago. The BMX industry seems to go through that. But we couldn't find a bike sponsor. So we decided that we are going to start our own. And I'm not sure why we came up with that idea, but we thought that that would be a great thing to start our own bike brand. And we started Supercross. And with that, we ended up upsetting quite a few of the companies that we worked with tech, because with tech, we were making leathers for Haro, we were making leathers for Redline, we were making leathers for Cyclecraft, for Block, for S&M. We were making race pants for LNS. We were making race pants for quite a few companies. And as soon as we started making our own frame, even though it was underneath a different moniker, with it being Supercross, it definitely upset a few of those guys. But that was the birth of Supercross back in 1989. And up here, I've got a picture of Todd Steen, who is wasn't our first pro, but was one of our longest running ones for a little bit back in the early 90s that everybody knew. And we took off and, snapped out of the gate, and boom, away we went. Here we are 35 years later, and we're still having fun, playing in the dirt, enjoying our bikes, and having some fun at the races with some friends, and enjoying a little bit of BMX time.
So a lot of people that have joined us just in the last few years would have noticed the 6-bar reproduction frames that you've been producing, but may not know the origins of the 6-bar. Do you want to explain that one?
Of course. So the 6-bar origin story, wow, I feel like I'm telling a Marvel movie or something like that, the origin story of the 6-bar.
It's got a good name for a Marvel story.
Yeah, it does. That would actually be pretty cool. Maybe Marvel. Hey, Marvel. Come here. We need to talk. Marvel. Maybe we can do a little collab going. I'd like to get Deadpool involved here. I think he would be appropriate. But no. So we used to do gate starts out behind the back of the shop, and when we used to have these gate start sessions, we used to have some decent people show up. It would be, anywhere from Tommy Brackens, Trinell Henry, Eric Carter, Pete Lonkarovich would show up, Danny Milwee would show up, Kiyomi Waller. I'm not trying to name drop, but I mean, we had some decent riders, obviously Billy Harrison, Paul Park, Tommy Robles, a lot of just our local guys, John Agnew would be out there, Richie Carrero. I mean, just the local guys. And I kept watching the frame flex to where as they're getting up there on the gate, they're putting the pressure, and I'm watching the chain just sag. I mean, the back ends of the bikes were just sagging. And I was like, man, if we can stiffen up the back end of the bike, we're going to be able to get a better launch. And I was always a big Ducati fan. I liked Ducatis and Buells, and I love the way that the triangulation worked, and the triangulation stiffened things up. And with that, I was looking at how do we stiffen up the back end of the bike without adding too much extra weight. So that's where we dropped the profile of the rear seat stay down, so that by bringing that seat stay down, we're able to stiffen up the rear triangle, because now it's a more compact triangle. And then we added the secondary seat stay braces up on the top to stiffen it up. And we actually placed those braces right where the bends would go for the tire clearance, so that where the tubing would be weakened just a little bit because of the bend, where the wall thickness would get a little bit thinner, we're reinforcing it by having that secondary set of stays coming in. So by doing that, we actually gave some extra triangulation to the rear end, stiffened up the rear end, kept all of your weld zone and your heat affected zones away from the bottom bracket, away from the dropouts. So we weren't causing any extra stress to the frame, but we were giving a lot of extra strength to the back end. And a lot of the riders who were able to get on it right away were like, wow, all of a sudden I could go up a tooth and get out of the gate just as well. Top speed increases. I'm getting out of the gate faster, getting out of the gate better. And it worked. A lot of people back in the day, they thought it looked ugly. They're like, oh, it's different, it's ugly. Now it's funny. The resurgence, especially for the 35-year anniversary right now, people have just been like, oh man, the 6 bar, that's so cool. It's so unique. That's a really cool look. I really like that. It's cool. And it's definitely taken on a new life of its own. And, I'm proud that we've got that frame out there, and I'm proud that it's part of our history. And it's funny that the modern day frames, that those seat stays are down so low, and that it brings that rear end so much more compact. And now you've got the advantages of the 7005 series aluminum and the tapered and butted tubings and all that. But back in the day, you didn't have that. You had Patco seamless chromoly tubing or high 10 steel or aluminum that was cold drawn, and you were really restricted on what you could do. So if you went bigger on tubing sizes to make it stiffer, you added a lot of extra weight. And the 6 bar design really stiffened up the back end of the bike without adding the extra weight.
You've been pretty busy these last 5 years since we last did this catch-up interview. What's been released? The Vision F1, I guess, has been in that last 5 years. The RSX frame. You had the 33rd anniversary and 35th anniversary products come out since then.
Yeah, well, since we last spoke, or actually you made me read and write, which is what you've been making me do all these other ones. It's definitely been a busy time. I had heart surgery number 11. I had stroke number 6. I had the pacemaker put in. So that kept us from really being able to celebrate our 30th anniversary the way that we wanted to. So we kind of came around and did our 33rd anniversary, which, as anybody knows, that's the Radiversary, from the movie Rad. So I tried to do that since most of our 30th year anniversary. I spent in the ICU at some hospitals and, wasn't able to quite do what I wanted to do. So we kind of kicked that around for our 33rd year anniversary. And then, of course, during COVID, while we had a little bit of downtime and KJ and I were being shills on YouTube and trying to hustle people to buy T-shirts and buy socks and buy whatever, stickers or whatever we could to try and keep the business afloat. I sat down and put pen to paper and said, well, this is the time that we're either going to make it through or we're not going to make it through. And we designed the Vision and went ahead and did the first full monocoque BMX carbon fiber frame. And there's obviously been a lot of videos and a lot of talk about the way that the Vision is and how we added the idler in and how we did the dual position fixed dropout so you can do disc or you can do V-brake. Since that time, we also introduced the RSX, which is an aluminum version of the Vision. Since that time, we also ended up getting kicked out of the building that we were at, not for any reason other than the fact that the landlord said, hey, guess what? COVID's booming and we're going to triple your rent. So either start paying a lot more money or find someplace new. So we had to go and buy a church. So we had to move everything in. And now, at first, I was really, I hate to say it, but I was pissed. I love the building that we were in. We had invested in putting that Olympic replica track on site. We had that 8-meter start hill on site with a 4-man gate. All of a sudden, we're getting bumped out, and I was pretty pissed. Now in hindsight, I'm actually really happy. We're in our own 14,000 square foot concrete tilt up church. That's, you know, people have referred to as the Church of BMX, but it used to actually be a church. So it's been a great building to rehab and to turn into our new home. And it's been great. And been a lot of adventures over the last 5 years. We finally ended up getting the acquisition of Torker completed, which has been a fun thing for us as well, which I know doesn't really sit into the Supercross frame of mind, I guess, for a lot of people, but all the old schoolers will remember that Torker used to be a frame company, and their sister company was Max, which was an apparel company. And that's kind of what I was looking at with Tech and Supercross back in the day, to where I thought, oh, this is kind of cool. And, you know, I used to be co-sponsored by Torker way, way back when. Just, you know, it was a pay to play program. You know, I had to buy my frame and buy a jersey. And, you know, I was stoked. Hey, you know, I got a little bit of a discount, and, you know, didn't last very long because, you know, whatever reasons, but it was cool and it was fun. And, you know, now we own those brands, and it's something that we've been releasing over the last year. And we've been helping Mike Miranda get his Dirty Fest stuff going, which is, you know, the ultimate old school BMX reunion, which is really, really cool and a fun thing. So our whole goal has been, you know, more butts on bikes. And I know before the interview, we spoke about, you know, how instead of people being gatekeepers to try and keep people out of BMX, you know, what you're doing down there in Australia and what we're trying to do up here in America is, you know, open the gates and tell everybody, okay, BMX is great. BMX is amazing. You want to go ride a BMX bike. You want to get on a BMX bike. I don't care if it's a 20-inch BMX, a 24-inch BMX, a 26-inch BMX, 29-inch BMX. You want to ride it. You want to go to the pump track. You want to go to the trails. You want to go to the BMX racetrack. You want to ride. You want to grab a buddy. You want to go have fun. You want to enjoy your time. And instead of closing the gates and saying, hey, this is our own little private circle and our own little thing, hey, come on in. This is it. Let's do this. Let's have fun. Let's do some BMX. Let's have some fun. So it's been a fun 5 years.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. One thing I've noticed over the last 5 years is, I mean, Supercross has always been a premium brand, and there's been a lot of little side projects along the way, but it seems that you've become more of a lifestyle kind of brand. You've expanded a lot more. It's not just about the race anymore. You kind of offer a little bit of something for everybody now, especially with your clothing. It used to be hard pressed to find a T-shirt. Now you got a range of nearly 20 T-shirts.
Well, that's a very true statement. And I did, after a little bit of reflection time, we had always been a brand that had focused on keeping the brand alive just for the race team, where everything that we did was funneled into the race team. And it was always very difficult to try and say, hey, we're going to make some T-shirts, we're going to make some socks, or we're going to make some whatever. And it was actually right around the COVID time when people didn't have the extra money and they were looking for used frames and used things. We had a lot of people calling up saying, hey, I'm a huge fan of the brand, but I can't afford to buy a frame. Can I buy a T-shirt? Can I buy some stickers? Can I do this? And we actually stopped selling frame stickers because we got involved in a lawsuit where someone took our frame stickers, put them on another brand of bike. That bike broke, and we ended up getting sued over the whole deal. Luckily, we got off the case to where before anything happened, they were like, "Oh yeah, that's definitely not a Supercross." But the sad part was that someone sold it to those people as a Supercross. They said, "Hey, this is a Supercross," so that they could get what they thought was top dollar for it. And the people who bought it really thought that it was a Supercross. They were like, "Hey, I bought a Supercross." And then they were really upset that the Supercross broke, but it wasn't a Supercross. So our lawyers, our insurance company said, "Hey, don't do that." But we started looking at the fact of that, hey, okay, we need to start concentrating more on some shirts. We need to start doing this. And we started doing, okay, well, here's one shirt style, here's a second shirt style. And people started responding. And then we started doing some socks, and we started doing some hoodies, and we started doing some jackets. And people really accepted that and said, "Hey, we're fans of the brand. We like the brand. We enjoy what you do." So much now that, I mean, this year we actually had Vans reach out to us, and we got to do a collaboration with Vans, to where I was really excited, to where 35-year anniversary, and we got to do a really cool thing where we got to sit down and design custom Vans that were exclusive Supercross BMX 35-year anniversary Vans, which that was rad. That was a cool project to have Stevie Van Doren, say, "Hey, yeah, this would be really cool." Um, that was fun. And to be able to work with Hydro Flask, to be able to do, some Supercross Hydro Flasks. And, we're trying to really make sure that we're not just the BMX race brand, but we're a BMX brand, and we are more of a lifestyle brand, because BMX is a lifestyle. And I think a lot of people forget that, um, that when you're truly into BMX, you think about it. You wake up and you're thinking BMX. You're going onto Instagram and you want to see what the coolest BMX thing is. You're going to YouTube. You want to see what the coolest BMX thing is. You're going on TikTok. You want to see what the coolest BMX thing is. And you want to be a part of that BMX. And that's part of what we've been trying to do with our team and our riders, is make sure that BMX really is cool, and make sure that, our side of it, we're definitely more of a BMX race orientated compared to the BMX freestyle or the BMX dirt jump or anything like that. We're more of the BMX race side, but we want to make sure that everybody knows BMX racing's cool and BMX is cool. And, it's rad to be able to ride your BMX bike and to take it to the pump track and to take it to the trails and to take it on a ride around the neighborhood and to take it to your buddy's house and to just be able to go for a cruise with your buddies and to be able to say, "Yeah, this is awesome." And to build a backyard track and to be able to say, "Yeah, look at these trails we dug. And dude, I can flow this line and look at how rad this is." And that to me is just the ultimate thing. And I don't know, it's just been, trying to keep BMX alive. That's the best thing I can say, is let's keep BMX alive.
I noticed the Big BMX crew have really taken the Supercrosses and run with them, and you've released a whole bunch of frames over the last 2 or 3 years. The AMX 250, was it? AMX 250?
Yeah.
SX 250. And was that a surprise to you?
It was a little bit of a surprise. We'd been being asked for it for a long time, and I was really hesitant to do anything with the Big BMX guys. And it was right after one of my heart surgeries, Todd Lyons actually reached out to me and said, "Hey, Bill, I'm going to send you a Big Ripper for you to use for recovery rides after your heart surgery. Just go cruise around the neighborhood and ride this Big Ripper and just enjoy it. Just have fun." Because you know, hey, it's 6'3", 250 pounds, riding a little BMX bike. I'm not as agile as Robbie Morales at Colt. I'm not as agile as Randy Roberts, you know, I'm just not that agile. I spend too much time behind the desk and not enough time on the bike. So Todd, you know, thank you for doing that. But when Todd sent me that bike, it was right before our 33-year anniversary. And I got it and I rode it and I called Todd and I said, Todd, this is actually really fun, man. This is really cool. And I said, we're going to do a short run of them. And he's like, dude, please join the party. Come on. And for our 33-year anniversary, we built 30 29-inch in chrome, 30 29-inch in black. And it was done to honor the 30-year anniversary. And, you know, we did it as the radiversary thing and, you know, just something to make it cool. So, I mean, super limited edition and just, you know, make it fun. And people were like, oh man, these are so fun. This is so cool. This is so fun. This is so cool. You know, and to me, the 26-inch was always the fun one to ride. I mean, I always liked the 26. I mean, my old OM Flyer, that was one of my favorite bikes to ride. I mean, even after I had started Supercross and, you know, had Supercross going, we never had plans of building a 26-inch Supercross, but I had my OM Flyer that I rode, and I had my old Torker 26-inch that was always a fun bike to ride. And, you know, they were always fun. They jump so good, they ride so good. They're not fast on the racetrack. They're not real nimble through the turns, you know, on a BMX track. I mean, if you take a 26-inch to the BMX track, you're going to pretty much get smoked by the guys on the 20-inch. I mean, not to sound bad, it's just what's going to happen, but they're fun, right? And for a long time, we had really been so focused on the fact of, you know, let's build it faster. 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 Let's put the performance into it. Let's put the performance into it. Let's put the performance into it. And we're still doing that. And that's where the Vision F1, the carbon bars, the carbon cranks, the, you know, everything we're doing with that, it's all about putting the performance into it. But now we're putting the performance into the fun factor. And that's kind of like where the OS 20 bikes came in as well, because we had built some OS 20 frames. We never wanted to do anything with them. We were just, stupid. We're not going to do it. I mean, we had one of our distributors over in England ask for an OS 20 because GT dumped a bunch of OS 20s over into England and he didn't want to ride one of the GTs. He wanted a Supercross. So we built some and we built 3. I sent one to Tim Dinger. I sent one to our distributor in England. I gave one to Randy. Randy let the frame sit for years. For years, he had that OS 20 just sitting, just didn't want to build it up. Well, he was going to have to go in for back surgery because he had one of his discs bulging. And he was like, oh, man, I just can't ride the 20-inch anymore, man. My back's just killing me, and I just can't ride the 20-inch anymore. Because I think I'm going to put the OS 20 together just for fun. He put the OS 20 together, took it out to the local pump track, and called up. And he's like, Bill, this is the funnest thing that I've ever done because this thing is so fun. And I was like, oh, well, that's really what BMX is always about. I mean, yeah, we want the performance. We want to be faster. I mean, but you got to have fun, right? You've got to do that. I mean, I look at it with the cars, you know, hey, driving a Porsche GT3, you know, GT3 RS, it's all about performance, right? I mean, you want to go fast. You want to go 200 miles an hour. You want to blast around the track. You want to go, but you're doing that because it's fun, right? So if we do this on a big BMX bike, if we can make it fun, now we get more people involved. We're getting butts on bikes. We're getting some of these guys to show up to the BMX track now. They're bringing their kids out to the BMX track. it's all about BMX, and it's all about the family, and it's all about fun. And we can put performance into these big bikes, and people seem to be responding to it. They love it to where they're like, oh man, this is really cool. I didn't know we could have a BMX bike that's this big with this kind of quality. This is awesome. We love it. And it's like, oh, rad. Okay, good. I'm glad you guys like it. Have fun. Go ride. Have fun. So I don't know. Not trying to get up on my soapbox again, but that's part of what it is.
I kind of had a similar reaction to OS20 as Randy. I didn't get one and have it sitting in the back shed for years. So I think it took a little bit. I think it took a little bit of a push, and once it was there, I figured, okay, I'll build this and have a bit of fun in the backyard, riding the backyard track on it. But I haven't touched a 20-inch since, and it's been 13 months, I think, now since I built up a Supercross SX450. It rides like a 20-inch, but just feels more comfortable for a bigger guy. Like I'm the same as you, 6'3", probably weigh maybe a little bit less, but not much.
Yeah.
So
I'd say
for
you're
a bigger
little
guy,
less.
a little bit less.
Yeah, I'd say you're a little less.
But for a bigger guy, it's a fun bike to ride. And then I couldn't help myself when you built the 26s. I saw the AMX 250. I thought, I want something like that, but I want it in chromo. And then the chromo version came out in chrome, so it was perfect. I thought, okay, I need to build this, and I want to build it to ride in the backyard, just the same as the OS20. And I've almost been riding that flat out since I built it as well, since the weather came good at least. So, and with the specific target of enjoying my BMX more. Like, I mean, I can go and race anything, anywhere. It's just another race. But to ride something that you just can't wait to get up the next day and take it for a spin, it's a completely different thing, isn't it?
Well, and that's what BMX should be about, right? That's the way it's always been. I tell this to riders all the time when they're hitting us up for sponsorship and different things. You never got involved in BMX because you wanted to be sponsored. You got involved in BMX because you wanted to ride. I mean, back when we were kids, it was all about grabbing that bike and going and having that freedom and hitting those jumps and just going, yeah, this is awesome, and sliding through the turns and jumping and riding and going, yeah, this is it. And that's the way that it should be. I mean, and it should be that way for everyone. Everyone who rides should have that feeling and have that freedom and have that feeling of joy, to where it's just like, this is it. This is my thing, right? I mean, it goes with anything. Just like playing guitar, right? When you play guitar, you're not playing it because you want to get endorsed. You don't play it because, oh, I'm going to be a multi-million-dollar contract guy. You're playing it because you want to enjoy it. You want to play because you're like, all right, this is my thing. I love doing this. This is fun. It sets your soul back into line. It sets you back into place. And with riding your bike, it sets your soul back into place. It sets everything in line. All the drama, all the crap, everything that's been going on, all the static, all the noise, everything that's been coming at you all day long. And all of a sudden it all goes away because you're just like, yes. Yeah. This is it, right? And you get done and you're like, okay, I'm centered. I'm good. Hit me again, right? Because I'm good. I've set myself back up. And I have to say, I mean, for a long time, I didn't look at what Todd Lyons was doing with SC, with the big stuff, as something that I thought was fun per se. To where at first, when I first saw it, it was like, it's wheelie bikes. It's wheelie bikes. That's not BMX. That's not. But when we back it up, and I actually had to tell a professional rider this at one point, when we back it up, when we were kids, we were emulating all the motorcycle guys, right? And now these kids are doing the wheelies, they're still emulating the motorcycle guys. I mean, if you see the guys on, the street bikes doing the, 12 o'clock standing up, they're doing that on these big BMX bikes now. So it's the same thing, different era, right? And just because we're gray doesn't mean that we have to crap on what they're doing, because to them, that's rad. And when you get on one of those and you ride and you go for it, hey, I'm not going to try and do a 12 o'clock, right? But I can take one of those bikes and go hit the trails. I can go hit the jumps. I can go ride the pump track. It's 26-inch wheels. It's fun. It's rad. It's BMX. It doesn't matter what the wheel size is. And, Todd has this thing, we ride as one. Well, yeah, we ride as one. And I've tried telling him that. And, I give Todd Lyons so much credit for what he's been trying to do. And, Bryhop, when he was at SC, his whole big thing was butts on bikes, butts on bikes. He wanted to get butts on bikes. It wasn't about money. It was about building that culture and building BMX as a culture and a lifestyle. And that's exactly what we're trying to do with Supercross. And same thing with what we're trying to do with Torquer. I want to build it as a culture. I want to build it as a lifestyle. It's not about the money. It's about the fun. It's about, hey, this is cool. This is an enjoyment. This is a fun factor. And this is about making sure that everybody gets to enjoy their life. And that's part of why, I'm so excited that we have like Bubba jumping in now. We've got Mara Strombergs. I mean, we've got 3-time #1 consecutive #1 pro. We've got 2-time Olympic gold medalists. They're not wanting to do it for the money. They're wanting to do it because they want kids to have fun. Bubba's breaking his back on that track out at Black Mountain day in and day out because he wants kids to have fun. Morris is showing up at the tracks training kids because he wants them to have fun, and he wants to teach them how to have a better time on their bike. He wants to try and create that lifestyle. He wants to cultivate that. And it's what BMX is about, and it's what BMX needs more of. And again, that's where with Miranda, with Dirty Fest, hey, this year it's going to be cool. We've actually got Voodoo Glow Skulls going to show up. They're going to do a free concert at Dirty Fest, to where, here we're going to have one of the biggest reggae punk ska bands in the world showing up at a little BMX festival, showing up to do this live concert for all these dirty BMXers out in the middle of a dirt field, because BMX is fun. And it's kind of what I've been doing for the last 5 years. What have you been doing for the last 5 years?
I've been enjoying the fruits of your labor, Bill.
Welcome back to part 2 of BMX Ultra with Shane Jenkins, live on YouTube.
And our special guest, Bill Ryan. You forgot about that bit.
If you got through that, if you listened to that, I don't know why you're here. You must love BMX. You must enjoy fun. That must be why you're here.
Who doesn't love BMX?
Everybody loves BMX. Everybody. You have to. If you don't love BMX, it's criminal. If you don't love BMX, you must be locked up.
All right. So it sounds like you had a lot lined up for your 35th anniversary. That you spoke briefly before about the flasks and the Vans shoes, which I just so happen to have my pair here over my right shoulder. I'm not sure what to do with mine. I don't want to wreck them by riding with them, but I don't want to not wear them. So I haven't kind of figured that out yet.
I say go ahead and use them. That's what everything we do is designed for. Just like your limited 35-year anniversary frame, you're riding it, right? Yeah, that is one of 35 pieces in the 26-inch, right? So I didn't design it to be a collector's item. And here's one thing that where I have a little bit of a problem with some of the big bike people And I don't mean this in an ill way for any of them, but I have a lot of them that call wanting to know, hey, can I get a special serial number? Can I get number 1? Can I get number 13? Can I get number 3? Can I get number whatever? And we don't check the serial numbers. They get built, they get put on the shelf, they get ordered, they get shipped. I don't check the serial numbers. To me, the bike should be ridden. It's something to where if you're not riding it, then you're wasting it. And it needs to be ridden. It's not designed to be a collector's piece. I mean, it's cool. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've got some cool collector posters back here on my wall. I like collector items. I mean, I've got some collector bobbleheads up here that are kind of cool, and stuff like that's rad. I mean, I appreciate fine things and things that mean something to you. That's awesome. Everybody should have that. Everybody should have something that means something to their heart. And if it's something that's a Supercross item or a Torker item or a Speedline item or a Dream Studios guitar item or anything that I'm doing, if something that I'm doing means something to you, to your heart, thank you. I'm sincerely humbled and sincerely honored. And that means a lot to me. It really does. Because I want to make sure that we're trying to do our best with anything and everything that we do. But go ride it. Go use it. I've had the same thing on the guitar side where people are like, hey, man, I really want to get Sparkler number 11 because, Elaine's band, 11, I want to get number 11 and I just want to hang it on a wall. And I'm like, no, man, don't hang it on a wall. Use it, abuse it, get it and play it. And as far as checking a serial number, I'm sorry, I'm not going to check it, and yeah, did I give Elaine the first one that we built? Of course I gave Elaine the first one I built, but did I check serial numbers on any of the other ones that went out the door? Not a single chance, and those guys are even crazier about it. So where they're like, oh, but I have to have it. Why? Does it play different? Does it matter? If I erased all the serial numbers off of everything, does it play different? Does it ride different? If I take the serial number off your bike, does it ride different? No, it doesn't. Please use it, enjoy it. That's what it was designed for. So on those shoes, please dirty them up, go ride in them, go have fun with them. You're doing it on the bike. How much fun are you having on that 26er? Right?
Oh, a lot of fun. I'm hurting myself. I'm riding way too much, and it's a big bike to throw around.
Right. But, okay, so it's a big bike to throw around, which, again, we were talking about on the 26ers. They're great. I mean, once you get them in the air, those wheels, the gyroscopic effect, they just float, right? You're just coasting. You're just the air time, the fun time. They're just amazing. Is it the fastest thing on the track? No, it's not the fastest thing on the track. Is it one of the funnest things on the track? Oh, for sure. You've got to ride it. You've got to enjoy it. And that's what it's all about. I mean, hey, but to each their own. There's some people that, they want their trailer queen. They want it to be perfect and pristine, and here's where it is, and this is it, and that's their thing, and rad. That's awesome. And I'm proud that we could be a part of that for you. But
so some of the other things you've done this year, the flight pad sets, the 35th anniversary pad sets to match the van shoes.
We did do those. That was a fun project.
They're still around, or have they sold out?
No, you believe it or not, I think Flight got those to us late. Those were supposed to arrive when the shoes arrived and when the frames arrived. And Erin from Flight is an awesome lady. And one of her sewers got sick and was out. So the pads arrived a month after they were supposed to. And the sales on the pads have just been almost nothing. It's almost like people don't even know that they exist. And it's like, okay, cool. I mean, we did 35, 35, 35. I think we've got, 20 of one left, 19 of another left, and 20 of the other left. So, I mean, yeah, we sold, 10 of this, 10 of this, 15 of this, or whatever. But it was a cool little project. Make it match up with the shoes, something that's cool, just a limited edition pad set. And it's funny because I'll have people come in and they're like, Bill, you know what you should do? What'd be really cool is if you made some pads to go on those SX 250s, that would be really cool if we had some pads. And I was like, oh, like these? And they're like, yeah, like that. And I'm like, so maybe I'm doing a bad job on marketing. But we've been so busy this year with so much stuff. I mean, this year has just been bonkers. I mean, with it being the 35-year anniversary, with it being the launch of Torker, the shoe project, there's been so much stuff. I mean, I guarantee you I have forgotten more that we've done this year about than the stuff that we've done. It's just been get up and go, 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 get up and go. And it's also been planning for 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028. I've got a full wall laid out for what we're doing for the next 4 years. Here's what's going to happen because, now, hey, the 35-year anniversary, we've got a couple more little projects that we're going to be dropping this year still. We've only got another month, but there's going to be some cool little projects that are going to be dropping. And then we go into year 36. Well, year 36 isn't special, right? Year 37, it's not special. Year 38, not special. Year 39, not special. Then we're going to hit year 40. Year 40, yeah, kind of special. Hope I make it to year 40. That'd be rad, right? That'll be a cool one. But I got a lot to do in those years coming up to it. And we've got a lot of cool stuff that won't be legacy stuff, won't be legend stuff, won't be that. But at the same time, with that, we've got a lot of cool legacy legend projects that we're doing that aren't, hey, this is the anniversary project. We're just, hey, we're bulldozing, moving ahead, trying to lay out the foundation for keeping BMX fun. And that's part of where people get mad at me right now that we've been having so much fun with our little character Gerald, to where, Gerald's just a fun little guy. And I was looking over here right now. Kylie took the hats, but we've got the little patches for Gerald now. And, we've got the hats and we've got the bobbleheads and we've got the new shirts. And the shirts are cool because they're little peekaboo shirts to where you don't see Gerald until you pull down the pocket. And, not our idea, right? Rip and Dip did it with that cat to where the cat's, doing that. But hey, okay, cool. It's a good idea. Gerald's just hiding in your pocket. It's a little friend that you get to take with you and just, tell anybody who's giving you a hard time. All that static, all that noise when it's just frustrating you and freaking you out, and just have a nice day. Move on, right?
Have you got any secret? I don't know, not secret. Can you alert us to what might be coming, or is it still top secret?
Oh man. Well, we could probably tell you, but we'd probably have to kill you. and we don't want to do that.
No. People have to clean up after that.
Yeah, that would probably be a bad thing. But no, I mean, part of the thing is that we've got all kinds of fun projects that we're working on. But I've gotten in trouble where we've announced stuff to where I'm like, yeah, we're working on this. And then we get phone calls nonstop. Hey, when's this drop? When's this drop? When's this drop? Well, hey, and we did have a situation like on the cranks. We had the cranks in production, and the crank vendor that we were working with went out of business. So that turned into a problem. We had to try and get tooling back, take that over to another crank vendor. That crank vendor got sold. That went over to another crank vendor. And it's just like, oh my goodness, and 2 years, 3 years, 3 crank vendors later, we're finally gonna get stuff done. And people don't understand how some of that stuff works. And it's a little difficult sometimes to keep project timelines running. Even with vans, we were supposed to originally launch the vans at Dirty Fest, and then that wasn't able to happen. And then we were going to do it at another event, and that changed up a little bit. And we we're just like, let's just do this. Let's hit it. And Vans was really happy. They're like, hey, this is great. What can we do for next year? And it's like, well, next year's not an anniversary year, so we can't do an anniversary shoe. But I'm stoked that you guys want to work with us, and I'm proud of the fact that Vans wants to work with us and continue to do some things with us. And we'll do some cool Supercross Vans stuff, some cool collabs for next year, because that's what Vans is about too. Vans is wanting to keep fun in all of their sports. And luckily they see that in what we're doing. So I'm stoked with that stuff.
So next week brands are on. You guys have won, 7 times the Bike of the Year?
7-time Bike of the Year, 3-time Team of the Year.
How cool would it be to finish out your 35th anniversary with an 8th?
Oh man, don't even give me the idea. I've always joked around that to have 8. When I first started Supercross, I always thought that it would be cool to be even just nominated for a golden crank, right? Just to be up there and to be on that area for a golden crank. And then once we started getting into the top 5 consistently, to where we were always top 5, top 5, top 5, we were always in there. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. But we could never win. We just never could win. We were just never there. We were, consistently the bridesmaid, right? And it's like, okay, cool. And I vividly remember the very first time we won, to where I'm standing in the infield. Bubba was standing off to my left. Ray from Fly was standing directly in front of me. And Redmond was standing to my right. And he looks over at me. He's like, hey, don't trip. And I'm like, what the frick does that mean? And I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, don't trip. I'm like, all right. And we're just standing there talking and just having a conversation, right? And BA, and Bike of the Year, Supercross. I was floored, right? Floored. And Bone looks over at me and goes, I told you, don't trip. He goes, the first time they called me, he goes, I tripped on that first step. He goes, be careful. And I'm like, oh man. I had no clue, right? But he knew. He was the announcer, and he knew and didn't tell me. So I was like, wow. So once we won the first one, I was like, oh man, we got one. we got one. Now we got to get a second one, right? And we did. We got a second. And I was like, oh man, we got two. So, well, what's the record? Who's got the record? And I'm like, well, Intense has got the record. I'm like, man, but it was almost like a curse because companies were winning the golden cranks and then they were going out of business. You know, Stats had won the golden crank and they went out of business. And Avent had won golden crank and they went out of business. GT had won the golden crank and went out of business, you know, and they didn't go out of business, but I mean, they traded hands or they dropped down or whatever. And I'm like, well, Intense has won 5. And I'm like, crap, that's a lot. It's hard. You gotta maintain a lot to keep that going. I'm like, well, we got 2. And then we lost it. And I remember Mikey Day coming up to me after we lost what would have been the third one. He was like, hey, congrats, Bill, 3 in a row. That's awesome. And I'm like, no, man, we didn't win it. S Squared won it. And he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, man. I'm like, we got to do this. We got to get it back. And so we had 2. And I'm like, okay, got 2. So we were trying, couldn't get it back, and I remember Gork coming up to me one time and we're standing at the rail and they're calling out for Bike of the Year. And he looks at me and it's before they called out Bike of the Year and holds up 3 fingers. And I'm like, oh man, this is it. We're getting number 3, right? And they call out yes for Bike of the Year. And I'm like, why'd you hold up 3 fingers? And he goes, that's how many votes you lost by. You lost by 3 votes. And I'm like, what? And he's like, go to your pits. He goes, you're going to find your 3 votes. And I remember walking back into our pits and I'm going, guys, did you vote for Golden Crank? And Calvin's like, what's Golden Crank? And I'm like, well, there's one. Someone else came walking. I'm like, did you vote Golden Crank? And they're like, nah, we always get Golden Crank. I didn't need to vote. And I'm like, well, there's 2, So I'm like, oh, man. So then the next year, we were blessed, right? We got Golden Crank number 3. And I'm like, okay, well, there's number 3. I'm like, we gotta do this. We gotta keep it going. So then we got number 3, we got number 4, we got number 5. And I'm like, all right, we got number 5. We tied the record. And someone was like, oh, Bill, you tied the record. That's awesome. And then we got number 6 and they're like, oh, you beat the record. And I'm like, nope, we didn't beat the record. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, Intense won 5 in a row. I said, so we've got to win 6 in a row. And I said, right now, we've got 2 in this pocket. We've got to keep going. So when we hit number 7, which was 5 in a row, and then 2 in the pocket, that's 7. But then that's where it ended. Tangent came in, boom, took it from us, right? And good for them. Tangent really puts on a good show. Tangent, man, they invest a lot into their team. They're dumping. Rich has been really pushing hard. So to get number 8, to get that one again, that'd be awesome. Because I'd have to look, and I don't know, but we've had it and we lost it, and then we got it back, and then we lost it. Can we get it back again? Oh man, I would love to. I would love to. Can we? I don't know. Honestly, I think people are kind of sick of us getting it. I think people are sick of us. I don't know. I'm sick of us, right? We're here all the time, and if we can get it, it'd be a blessing. But I don't dump the money into the team that a lot of other people do. I can't. We don't we don't make enough money off of BMX to put that kind of money into it. We're trying to make this be a real business. We've actually got people on payroll. We're actually paying our taxes, paying our this, paying, insurance, paying this. I mean, we're a legitimate business where a lot of companies that are out there in BMX land are, they're dads that are trying to do something as a side business, which that's awesome. And you've got other companies like Chase that, they're a legit business. SE is a legit business. They're big companies. Those big companies, they can't really chase that golden crank thing. I mean, it's hard. It's a hard thing to chase that team program and to put all that money into it and all that time, because you're not getting a return from it, really. I mean, it pisses off the bike shops. The bike shops get mad that you're doing a team thing because, oh, you've got all these kids that are buying product at a discount, or they're getting it for free, or whatever it is. And, then the shops get mad because, oh, well, little Johnny got it for free and now he's selling his old stuff to the next guy, and I can't get people to come in my shop to buy it. And it's a hard game, man. BMX is just too small. And that's part of why we're trying to keep it fun. And we want to make it fun so that people can enjoy it and people can have fun. And I want, again, like I said, I want to celebrate our 100th year anniversary with you. And I want to do it because BMX is fun and bikes are fun and people are enjoying it and people can really do it and enjoy it. And I don't want to see the sport disappear. I don't. You remember Mike Carruth?
Yeah.
Good friend of mine, right? Good friend of mine. I want to say it was 6 years ago, 7 years ago, Reno. No, Vegas. He told me, he goes, Bill, he goes, you remember back in the 50s, it was a big sport, big sport. People used to put gas motored cars on a string, on a stick, and they'd race them in a circle. And I'm like, okay. He goes, that's not a sport anymore. He goes, it went away. He goes, it was a huge thing in the 50s. Kids really loved it. It was a really big thing. So it kind of went away. He goes, it's not around anymore. And he goes, BMX, he goes, I see it going in that kind of direction. He goes, we need to kind of fix it. And that's when him and Donnie Robinson started this beginners league. And it's all about getting kids out to the track to ride and to have fun, not to go chase a nag plate or go chase a rock plate or go chase a world one plate. It's about going out and having fun and enjoying BMX with your friends, because we started to really notice a decline in 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old, 9-year-old classes were shrinking, right? They're getting smaller. But 45 and over was getting big. 55 and over is getting big. And, well, I don't have to tell you, but I mean, I'm 56. I'm not out racing, right? I'm not out buying bikes. I'm not racing the way I should. I'll grab a big BMX bike, though, and go for a ride, and I'll go have fun. So we got to keep BMX fun, and we got to keep it alive, and we've got to invite in all the younger kids and show them how fun it is and let them have fun with it and let them learn. And a lot of those kids we lost to mountain biking. I mean, all those little 20-inch mountain bikes and those little 24-inch mountain bikes, hey, mom and dad were like, hey, I'm riding a mountain bike. You're going to ride a mountain bike. Hey, we're going to go do this. Now, with these big BMX bikes, mom and dad are riding a big BMX bike. I'll get you a little BMX bike. We'll go out to the track. We'll go do this. it's a full circle situation, and everybody has to remember to keep it fun, and they have to be able to not take it as seriously and just enjoy the sport and enjoy it for what it really is.
I reckon that's probably the perfect place to finish, except I do have one more question for you.
Sure.
I think in the past I've asked you how you celebrated, and we've seen you've collaborated, you've produced a whole heap of products, but to actually sit back and think, geez, 35 years, I've managed to accomplish this, I've managed to win all these awards, I've managed to put riders on the podium. Do you ever actually get a chance to stop and think about that, or you're just thinking about the future?
I'm always trying to think about the future, and not to sound bad, and I'm not trying to sound egotistical, and I'm not trying to, I don't know. I've been told that I need to stop and I need to reflect and I need to celebrate what I've done. But I'm so driven on trying to save the sport and so driven on trying to move things further forward that I don't take the time to do that. And I've told people for years, I don't know if it's because I'm so stupid or because I'm so passionate, but I'm just not leaving BMX. And this is where I'm at. And could I make a lot more money if I left and did something different? Of course I could. But this is what I like to do, and this is where I'm at. I had someone a week ago who had been in BMX in a pretty big manner, and I just saw that we're about to run out of time, so I'll end it fairly quickly. But he just asked me, he's like, hey, he goes, how do you stay passionate? And I said, when I see my riders be passionate, when I see, for instance, Kylie Martin, racing 1720 women, but going on these big bike ride outs, and she sees a 13-year-old kid that needs help or a 17-year-old kid that needs help, and she wants to donate and she wants to pay to try and help them. When I see Gage Gomalicki, 16 years old, getting super excited about what he's doing. When I see Sequoia getting excited about what she's doing. When I see Justin Perkins just so stoked that he was able to do this and he's out there at the track helping the younger kids. And when I'm watching the younger generation pay it forward, that helps keep me excited and makes me want to keep working harder to make it easier for them to pay it forward so that next generation will be able to keep paying it forward so that we can keep the cycle moving forward. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Bill, like you said, we're kind of running out of time. Thank you very, very much for spending this time with us and giving us a bit of history, and congratulations on another 5 years. 35 years is pretty amazing in business in general, let alone in BMX. There's very few companies that are still around after 35 years.
Well, I've tried to make the list in my head. Jim Alley from Profile, Rick Montanaro from Standard, Chris Moeller from S&M, and then myself as far as the pecking order for years in business. I think those are some pretty good guys to be in company with. I'm blessed that I like to consider them all friends. I think they're all great guys. So,
it's amazing. Quite an achievement. So I better run, better let you go. Enjoy your
Thank
weekend.
you for tuning in to BMX Ultra, the ultimate place for BMX on the internet. This is your host, Shane Jenkins. I'm Bill Ryan, and go grab your bike. Go ride.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Shane. Have a great day.
No worries. You too.